Okay, thanks everybody for joining us. On June 16th, 2021, Governor Baker signed into law an act extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency. This act includes an extension until April 1st of 2022 of the remote meeting provisions of his March 12, 2020 executive order suspending certain provisions of an open meeting law. The board further reserves the right to discuss matters which could not reasonably be anticipated at the time of the posting of this meeting notice. The meeting is not going to be canceled, so I don't need the rest of that. Good evening, everyone. Chairman Snow is not in tonight, so I'll be in charge, and we're going to go right into the agenda. First of all, let me do a couple of housekeeping things here. Call to order roll of commissioners. Penny?
Yeah.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Andy?
Here.
Brendan?
Here.
Doug? Not yet. And this is Richard Harding at home.
Doug will be here. He's just running a tad bit late.
No worries. And so we'll go from there. Are there any additions to the agenda?
I'd like to I'd like to discuss at the end of the meeting how long continuances should go on.
Okay.
Sounds good. And also, we had a request from 151st Parish to take them in the beginning of the DOAs. So we'll probably take them before the 211 Tilden.
That's fine.
But yeah, and then so we could have two continuances right off the bat, and then it'll go right into this
Correct.
Tilden and Rad.
Okay. So 33 Oceanside Drive has made a request to continue. I need a motion.
I make a motion to continue 33 Oceanside Drive to August 30th.
Do I have a second?
Second from Jen.
Penny made the motion. Jen has the second. Andy?
Yes.
Brendan?
Yes.
And Richard, yes. Jen, will you do Newell Street, please?
Sure. So Richard has recused himself for 8 Newell. So I will be handling that. So 8 Newell Street, DEP 0682859 has requested to continue to August 30th.
I'll make a motion to continue 8 Newell Street to August 30th.
Second, Andy.
So that's Penny with the motion, Andy with the second. Richard?
I'm recused.
Oh,
It's okay.
oh, I'm already fired from my job. So
Brendan.
we've got Brendan,
Yes.
Andy.
Yes.
I think that's it.
And you.
Oh, and me. Yes, I vote yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Jen. So we have 0 Tilden Road, ANRAD. Do I have to read something for that?
Yes.
And that's what I don't have handy. My fault.
Okay. I believe that Jen should maybe be able to flash up the public hearing notice. And or just email it quickly to Richard.
Yep.
So hold on.
I did not think of that.
Richard, I just emailed it.
Okay. Just give me a second here. On August 16th, 2021 at 5:30 p.m. in the Town Hall, the Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 of the Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Stephen Bjorklund for an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation, also known as ANRAD, on properties located at 0 Tilden Road, map 39, block 26, lots 30, 30A, 30B, and 32A, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information and access virtual meeting will be available on the agenda posted on the town website. Is Steve with us?
He is. I'm going to unmute Jay Stevens' iPad. Quite sure that's him. Hold on.
How's that? Do you have me now?
Hi, Steve. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Rich?
Good, thank you. Why don't you tell us what this is about?
Okay, this is pretty simple. You can see the plan up there. Right now, there is no project that is proposed for the site, but I retained Brad Holmes from ECR to go out and flag the wetlands across the back of a property. I actually own 2 parcels that are contained within this. Both of mine are on Tilden Road. One is to the top of the plan on the left side. One is to the bottom of the plan on the left side. And I am working with the 2 neighbors that have the larger parcels of land, which actually have the wetland lines on them. And this is a simple ANRAD. And if you've had a chance to read Brad's memo that he sent in with the filing, we don't have any certified vernal pools. There's no map stream systems. There's no land subject to flooding under FEMA regulations on the property. And it's not in an area of environmental concern or critical environmental concern. So it's simply laying out a bordering vegetated line. And we also discovered, if you look at the top left side of the map, DPW has recently put a sidewalk in Tilden Road, and they tied a catch basin in and built a small, I guess, distilling basin, for lack of a better word. It's really just a dirt hole on my property to drain Tilden Road. We did go forward with the consultant, Art Allen, for the town, came out and was interested in whether that was a resource area or not. And the deciding factor was if there was a wetland resource up gradient from those street basins, that potentially could be a resource area that you would have control over. And you've received a letter from DPW who reviewed it with me. And we counted all the catch basins that went into it, looked at all the topography in the area, and have determined that it's not being fed by a wetland resource area. I think it's basically, I think it's 12 catch basins in the street that pick up just road drainage and dump it onto the property. So he had determined that that was not a regulated portion of resource on the property. So this is strictly just the wetland line itself. On the bottom side of the plan, or the south side, I guess, there were adjustments made between some of the flags, and that's been reflected, and you have an upgraded plan to show that between flags 15 and 25. Art pulled the line in some, and we have no problem with that. We pulled it in with them on site. Amy was out there with us, and we agree that the line that's out there is certainly adequate for future plans, and hope the commission will just vote the ORAD, and I will be back with some type of a notice of intent.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Penny?
Nope, it's straightforward. Looks good.
Hey, do you guys want to go to me first?
I'm sorry. That's
Yes.
right. You're right. I'm sorry. Thank you, Amy. Amy?
Make it
It's
quick.
kind of one of those things that we talked about that
Yes.
maybe makes sense. So anyway, so we did have Art Allen, who's not on the call tonight, but you know, we had him out there. I walked the whole BVW line too. Art Allen is peer review agent for the commission on this ANRAD, and yeah, and it looks good as far as what's on the plan. There's a little bit of movement on the line. I did want to point out that the lot with the house on it actually has a outstanding order that they may want to take care of with a certificate of compliance. So that is outstanding on the deed to their property. But otherwise, I would say that, DEP had no comments and that this would qualify for an ORAD. Those are my comments.
Thank you. I won't make that mistake again. All right, Penny.
No, I still don't have any questions. Thank you.
Jen?
I'm good for now.
Andrew?
No questions for me.
Brendan?
No questions.
Or do I have any? Is there anyone in the audience on this?
So if you want to participate, there's a raise hand feature at the bottom of your screen. Raise your hand. We'll call on you. Seeing none, Rich.
Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the ANRAD. BBW.
Penny with a motion. Second, please.
Second, Andy.
Second.
I'll give that to Andy. Brendan?
Yes.
Jen?
Yep.
And I'm a yes. Thank you, Steve.
Okay, am I still, you can hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, I just want to tell you and Amy that I would gladly work with Neil and Donna to try and take care of their outstanding order and see if we can get that closed for you guys and them.
That would be excellent.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Steve.
Bye.
Steve.
See
Okay,
you
bye-bye.
later.
Nice night.
Now, Jen, is it the same notice? There we go. Thank you. "50 Surfside" is up. On August 16, 2021 at 5:30 in the Town Hall, the Situate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 of the Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Megan and Mark Guerrera for work related to construction of a new single-family dwelling at 50 Surfside Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access meeting will be available on the agenda posted on the town website. Who do we have online from Green Seal Environment?
I was going to unmute Laura Bouguet.
Hi, good evening. Actually, Jack O'Leary, my colleague, will be presenting tonight for this project.
Okay, we'll get Jack on.
Great, thank
Thank
you.
you, Laura. Is Janet coming up?
Okay, you should be set.
Can you
Jack
hear
should
me
be
now?
on. Yeah. Hi, Jack.
Hi, Amy. Thank you. How's it going?
Jack, good evening. How are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
Good, thank you. You want to tell us what you have in mind for this, please?
Sure. I'm Jack O'Leary here with Green Seal Environmental on behalf of Megan and Mark Guerrera for a project at 50 Surfside Road. This is 50 Surfside is south of Gannett Road. And this is on the west side of Surfside Road. This is a project some of the commission members may recall. There was an order of conditions for a home to be built on this property issued about, I think it's about 4.5 years ago. And what we have done is file a new notice of intent to supersede that and propose a new home, a somewhat different home style, a little bit bigger, and some site features. And we look forward to discussing that with you. This site is located along Surfside Road, which of course is a barrier beach system. We're in the backside of the barrier beach, so we have a coastal resource area, a dune coastal resource area, but that's a secondary dune facing
Squashit.
Question.
Squashit Pond.
Squashit.
Thank you. So we have that resource area. We're also in a FEMA map flood zone with an elevation of 14, which goes right over Surfside Road. So we're also in land subject to coastal storm flowage. And we also have a bordering vegetated wetland that's associated with the pond along the back. The house proposed is in generally the same location as what was already approved. The house is a little bit longer, a little bit further from the resource area. Instead of having a crushed shell driveway and walkway, we are proposing a pervious paver driveway and walkway. And the other thing that's different about this application is we are proposing a small amount of fill beneath the front of the house and along the back to make the staircases not so tall as to be difficult to access. The house itself will be constructed on driven piles. The finished floor elevation will be elevation 116, which provides the 1 foot clearance to the lowest structural member above the FEMA flood elevation. So it's in conformance with that part of the regulation. The pervious pavers are proposed because they will not track crushed seashells onto the road, and they're easier to maintain. They still would be moved during a large storm event, so they still meet the standard for a barrier beach / coastal dune, allowing the sediment to move during a large storm. The house will discharge its rooftop runoff into two infiltration trenches, and that in combination with the pervious pavers means that there be no significant increase in runoff from the property, even though stormwater management does not apply to a single family home project. We are proposing a line of Rosa rugosa shrubs along a portion of the wetland line, the portion that fronts on the house. You can see them on the plan somewhat to the left of the center. And per the bylaw, we are also proposing a 30-foot wide no-mow natural area to be developed on the property, so the yard area will be kept out of that. Currently, the site is mostly grass, and there is some parking along the frontage that would be removed. We are proposing erosion control. You can see the bold dashed line shows the erosion control barrier. But between the grading between the house and the wetland resource area associated with the pond, and between us and the neighboring properties. That's really about it. It's a pretty straightforward project. Again, it's very similar to what you had already approved, with those exceptions noted, and we look forward to discussing it with you and getting your input and feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Amy?
Yeah, thanks, Jack. So actually, just this afternoon, just a little bit ago this afternoon, I received comments on this project from Coastal Zone Management, Rebecca Haney. I provided her with a copy of the notice of intent and site plan. And she did come back with comments that I think are quite pertinent to the project. They were quite lengthy, so I think the best will be to get the applicant a copy of her bullet points. But in summary, just wanted to say that I think that the project that is approved, so there is an approved new build on this lot. You know, it's an elevated home with very little grade changes and meeting elevation requirements for the area. As a barrier beach and a coastal dune, you know, the coastal dunes all have standards of no adverse impact under the Wetlands Protection Act regulations. And this project proposes, components of this project definitely would pose adverse impact with respect to storm damage and flood control functions of the coastal dune by redirecting floodwaters. So not so sure that this is something that we can support as proposed. The other problematic parts of this new project are the garage at grade, so no solid slabs at grade, would redirect the flow. The project had been proposed with shell driveway. I mean, again, pavers aren't going to slow down the flood water. I think we'd probably prefer to keep that as shell. And then quite importantly is the new structural plans appear to show grade beams and piers rather than open pilings. And that would be what we would likely approve in this location. And also no retaining walls. So I think this is somewhat consistent with the feedback that we provided Laura when we came in to talk about amending the other orders, which is perhaps why this was, kind of turned down as an amendment and it was brought forward as a new notice. So those would be the things that stand out.
Here's, thank you, Amy. Here's what I would suggest. I'd like to get comments that any of the other commissioners have, and then give Jack and the Guerreros a chance to look over the information that you received today that we've just seen for the first time, really a very short time ago, and let them digest them and probably move right to a continuance. But I think we should hear from the other commissioners in case they bring up things that they have concerns about that aren't even mentioned in that report. Does that make sense?
That does. And also, Rich, I am going to say that there may be abutters on this call.
Sure.
That are interested in this project. We did receive photos, demonstrating the flooding that goes through this area.
Mhm.
I think pretty sure that you were forwarded those photos as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thanks. And sorry, I'm not going to answer that, so don't worry. So Jennifer, your thoughts, please.
I don't have anything extra to add. I think it's important for the candidates to be able to amend their plan as suggested by the comments that came up today.
Okay. Brendan?
Yeah, I have no additional comments at the time.
Okay. Andrew?
No, I mean, I sort of agree with what's been said. I guess just one thought to think about in between now and a potential next hearing is maybe moving the shrubs up in that 30-foot, just so it sort of more clearly marks the no-mow. I have some sort of thoughts about that, but that's sort of secondary to the concerns already raised.
No, it's a good thought and a good comment. Thank you. Penny?
No, that's what I was gonna say. The rows of Bagoza definitely should be moved all the way up to the 50-foot. They're on the wetlands line. No. And behind them, they should be on the 50-foot line, and then behind there, no grass, just let it go. Let Mother Nature take it back.
Okay.
And as far as the garage and the driveway, where it is a flood issue there, I know Richard should remember, I believe, that down in Hummerock, we've had some new builds, and we've had a couple in mine at Bayberry or Blueberry Lane, where they had to raise the garage up, and they had a ramp coming from the street up. So it can be done. You do not need to have a slab. So I know that can be done. And yeah, I think it needs a lot of tweaking before it comes back. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Penny. Jack, just to explain, to make sure that you understand, I'm going to go for comments from anybody, butters or anybody that have any comments. But hopefully this gives you a chance to see the kinds of things that people are thinking about in reference to this project. And then we'll come back to you and give you a chance to say something, but also, and most likely, find a time when you can come back to us after absorbing all of this information and see whatever adjustments you'd like to make.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Are there any people in the audience that would like to speak to this? And I would ask anybody who raises their hands to keep the comments brief. This will not be the last go around on this, but an initial comment of concern or whatever you have to say will be appreciated. Just keep it as succinct and brief as possible.
Don't repeat.
I just unmuted Karen Canfield.
Great, Karen, are you on?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes. How are you tonight?
Great, thanks. I'm Karen Canfield. I live at 39 Surfside Road. And yeah, thank you. Obviously, I think continuance makes perfect sense. The only thing I wanted to point out is that at the front of these plans, it seems to indicate that there's existing gravel parking area that spans the entire front of the property. And that is not existing conditions right now. And I think that from a conservation standpoint, that's problematic if they were proposing extending that, because we get extreme amount of flood water through there, and any gravel parking lot that's there is going to end up in the pond. So that would be my only comment to just alert you to.
Okay. Thank you, Karen.
Thank
Much
you.
appreciated.
I'm gonna Deborah Cesarini. Hold
Sure.
on.
Hi, yes, good evening. Deborah Ciccarini, 46 Surfside, right next door. And
How are you tonight, Deborah?
I'm very good, thank you.
Okay.
Haven't been here very long, moved here last fall, and loving every minute of it. And
Excellent.
you know, I just had some concerns when you mentioned the fact that they wanted to bring in some fill for the stairs and the front and the back entrance. That really scares me. Fill here, if it's a half inch, I can see what's happened since I've been here. Storms, summer, fall, winter. We're definitely, I'm concerned about changing that storm surge flow or rainwater for that matter, for the pond and for the ocean coming over. So I see what a natural course it has taken over the years, and it seems to work okay. My fear is that, if there is any change in direction, I definitely would be affected by that, as well as my neighbors in this condo complex. So just my 2 cents.
Well, thank you for the concern. I will say that there are definite limits and concerns that the commission always has in situations regarding fill. And that'll be something that will have to be addressed, and see if it's because we don't want neighbors to be adversely affected in any way. So we will work on that.
Thank you.
Appreciate the
Thank you.
comment. Thank you. Are there any other hands up, Amy?
Seeing none, Rich.
So I would think there's quite a list here, Jack, speaking to you. There's quite a list here of things that need to be addressed. I honestly, from my own standpoint, I'm not surprised by some of this because we did go through this 4 or 5 years ago. But we'll make sure that you get a copy of what we got from CZM, and
Thank you.
have a chance to read over that. And you've heard some of the other concerns that really do need to be addressed. Realistically, you think 2 meetings out would be appropriate for us to continue? Would that would give you basically 3 working weeks, because we need stuff a week in advance to make some adjustments, or if you need more time, that's what I need to.
I think, is your next meeting the 30th?
The next meeting is the 30th, but that would mean you'd have to have everything done, and I have to check with Amy to see if there's even room on the schedule, but that would mean you'd need everything done in a week. Because we need it a week in advance.
I think we can achieve that, so I'd like to at least tentatively get on the 30th, if there's a slot available for us.
And so I go back to Amy or.
Yeah, I don't think there is a slot available.
So that would have to put it to the first meeting in September.
Okay.
Would that work for you?
That would, yes. We'd like to
Okay.
get a copy of the CZM letter as soon as possible, obviously, so we have a chance to respond to it.
I don't think there's no problem with that, is there, Amy? Okay, so we
We'll
will
get
get
it right
that
off to you tomorrow.
And we
But when's
need,
the first meeting?
the first meeting would be the
13th, because of Labor Day?
20th.
20th of September. That's
Yeah.
correct.
Oh, all right, that's why we're meeting
Yep.
in August again.
Okay, so I need
Okay.
a motion to
Mr.
continue
Chairman,
this.
I make a motion to continue 50 Surfside Road till September 20th.
Thank you, Penny. I need a second.
Second from Jen.
Jennifer, thank you. Andrew,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
and Richard, a yes. Thank
Mr.
you for your
Chairman?
time, Jack.
may I make just one comment or request?
Sure.
We didn't realize that the next meeting would be that far out. Is it possible if somebody drops out early enough on the 30th and we get our submittal in by this Friday, that we could be on that agenda?
I don't know, and I'm not trying to be difficult with you at all, because we like to move things along as quickly as possible, but we already have an agenda that's longer than the one we had tonight, scheduled for the 30th.
Appreciate
And it's
that.
very hard to make changes. And if they're on the schedule, even if they ask for a continuance, we don't usually know that until 2 or 3 days before at the earliest.
Sometimes the day of.
Okay, but thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Jack. Take care. Give me 1 second here. 28 Gilson. Okay, going to move right along to 28 Gilson Road on August 16th, 2021 at 5:30 PM in the Town Hall. The Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 of the Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Ian and Christine Seaver for work related to construction of an addition and deck at dwelling at location 28 Gilson Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information and access meeting will be available on the agenda posted on the town website. Who do we have on this tonight?
I unmuted James.
James Garfield, are you there?
I am. Yep.
How are you tonight?
Doing great. How are you?
Great.
So again, for the record, my name is James Garfield. I'm an engineer at Morse Engineering. Here tonight representing the applicant for this notice of intent associated with the proposed additions and deck at 28 Gilson Road. Our property lines are shown here in bold. Gilson Road's down at the bottom of the page, with the existing single-family dwelling centered on the lot. Existing resource areas of the site are an inland bank to an unnamed coastal river shown towards the left side of the page here. There's a salt marsh located across the street, a salt marsh located on the subject property, and a bordering vegetated wetland on the subject property. The closest resource area here, being the bordering vegetated wetland on the subject property, as you can see, runs along the limit of the existing brush line. And what we're proposing are 2 additions and a deck on the front of the existing single-family dwelling. These additions are being proposed within the area of the existing deck and some lawn area as well. These additions and deck are being proposed on 12-inch sonotubes, and we've got an erosion control barrier along the limit of our proposed work. So with that, I will leave it to you for any questions.
James, haven't we seen this house before over the past couple of years?
Yeah, I believe there was a filing made sometime in 2017 for a separate edition.
Mm-hmm. That the only
Wait a
one? I
minute.
thought I recalled more than one, but okay. Amy,
Yeah, I thought that there was more than one addition too, actually. But are the Seavers on the call, James?
I don't know. I don't see them.
Okay, well, all right. I mean, all right, a couple of things here. One is that, and I had written these comments, provided them before, but you will observe that the resource area delineation is slightly of date. So you'd like to see these at least within 3 years current. This is, I think, more like 4. So I would recommend that be refreshed just to make sure that there's no changes. And I mean, as far as the amount of upland versus wetland, I mean, you can see we've got a pretty tight site here with not a lot of room to do anything. The additions that they had done a couple years ago were on the rear of the house.
Yeah.
And so they had added like 2, I mean, it wasn't like add a deck, you know what I mean? It was like connect part of the house, add a 2-story addition, maybe add a deck too. So now they want to go out in the front. I mean, I think that this is something that could be conditioned, but as you can see, the site is so tight and up against the resource area that, I mean, even the house itself is largely all within the 50.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like a few things that would strike me here would be refreshing the wetland line, which, I mean, I'm hoping that wouldn't change significantly. But you know, that this is also an area that's in flood zone, so it's land subject to coastal storm flowage. And I did review this with the building commissioner. And you know, the substantial improvement clause under the building code would require sites that improve over a certain value to actually have their foundations, or they should elevate to you know, a minimum height at base flood elevation. So this is not an elevated property. This has got, you know, a solid foundation. Although the feedback that I did get from Mr. Vogel at the building commissioner was that because they began and completed the projects that they completed a couple years ago, that actually they start, in his opinion, they start from ground zero again. So based on that, this particular addition would not necessarily bump them up over. But I mean, it reminds me a little bit of the project that we just conditioned over on Peggotty Beach Road, where we had the same kind of comments. You know, this house is definitely in harm's way. You know, it's right on the resource area, it's in flood zone. But you've got lawn, so it's not like you're not taking a virgin site, you know, so it's for the fact that they're converting existing lawn with an addition, that's how I think you probably could get to a conditionable project. Perhaps mitigation, which I don't see put forward on this plan, should be something that would be, you know, welcome discussion. Looks like their driveway's gravel. So, because at first I was thinking maybe they should tear up the pavement or something, but I don't know, a roof well for the roof drainage would be something, I think, you know, together with the addition that they just finished, perhaps that's, you know, would meet that 25% stormwater review. So as a not official stormwater review, but just looking at that like as a segmentation and collaboratively, if there's any way a roof drain might be able to engineer it and function to take away some of the additional roof area that's now going to be draining. And then also possibly plantings. Those are just some thoughts that I had.
Great. Thanks. Doug, I see you've joined us. Do you have any comments on this?
Yeah, there I am. Yeah, well, interesting enough that the plan that was included in our packet was the 2018 proposed plan for those additions.
Really?
Yeah, so I'm looking at that, and that proposed addition, which is the hatched in area behind the house, and then
Yeah.
where it says existing deck on sonotubes was what was proposed there. And yeah, I don't know what was conditioned back then, but it doesn't show any kind of mitigation or anything like that, or roof drains. And I think we're trying to increase our level of protection as we go
Yes.
forward here. So I would think that would make sense to kind of take a look at that, the total kind of the total footprint there, and see what we can do. It is really tight. I appreciate that constraint there. I don't know what the soils are like. James, I don't know if you have done any digging out there or anything like that. If dry wells would do any good, infiltration, just to catch. Is there gutters on the house already? It could be a fairly straightforward piece of mitigation, and then maybe some kind of plantings along the BVW line or something like that to try to there's some spots back there that don't seem to be really being used much, that you could maybe get some things in there that are beneficial to the system. But other than that, I think this is what's being proposed. Everything's in front, so it's less of an impact than it was a few years ago. But it is continuing to increase the footprint in a matter of years here. So I do think it would make sense to kind of look at whatever kind of mitigation makes sense, at least on a site like this.
Thanks, Doug. Brendan?
Yeah, I actually don't have anything additional to add from what Doug said. I kind of agree with Doug, and I'll just then leave it at that.
Okay, thank you. And Andy?
Yeah, I think most of my sentiments have been captured. I guess there is also this fence that's sort of right up against the wetland as well, which I guess is another potential thing to put on the list for considered mitigation, but that's about all I have to add.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you just said.
We had listed out some of the potential mitigation
Right.
possibilities, and there is a fence as well that's sort of cutting the wetland off, but right along the edge of the wetland as well.
Mhm.
So I might suggest that as something to add to the list of possibilities.
Okay, thank you. Penny?
Yeah, I don't remember the wooden retention wall. What the heck is that doing out back? Do you know?
I think I actually surveyed this one a few years back, and I remember that wooden retaining wall being there when I surveyed it.
Why is it there?
I don't know the answer to that, Penny. I think it does probably drop down a foot or so at that location.
So what?
But I'm just I think that's as far as I know. That's that's all I know about that wall anyway.
I don't think that wall should be there. I don't understand, because the fence keeps going out back. And I guess it's a tree out back there, right at the edge of the wetlands, which is fine, but I don't think that wooden retention wall should be there. Also, I definitely agree. We need to get something back here, and the drainage might be a good idea. This is like, there's not really an inch left. And as far as landscape, you have it all on one side, and then you have the brush line. I don't know, it's really cramped. And can I just ask, James, do you know why the fence over by the driveway cuts back towards the house?
Why it cuts back, I'm not sure exactly. It has been a little while since I've been out there.
Yeah, but you see where I'm talking at the top of the gravel driveway?
Yep.
the fence goes up and then it comes right back. And I'm there, what the heck is going on here?
What kind of a fence is it?
I don't know. That doesn't, it might be chain link, but it doesn't actually,
I
it
don't
just says fence.
I don't remember.
Penny, I believe there's a solid white fence extending from the corners of the house to the chain link on the sides of the lot. So it sort of fences the backyard in.
All right, well.
Yeah, I think that this family has small people, so it's probably something to do with, you know,
Going out to the road, yes, I understand that, that's okay. But it is, I mean, this is
Okay.
overwhelming. Okay, I'm done, Richard.
Jen?
Yeah, nothing new to add. I think it's so great to hear so many ideas getting tossed out for things that could help make this project even better. So I'm loving hearing that. But I've got nothing else to add.
Thank you. So James, is it possible to get the wetland line currently confirmed?
Yes, we can absolutely do that for you.
Okay. And then Amy and other commissioners gave some ideas of things. I mean, this is something I would think we want to try to make happen, but it is a very tight quarters. And my recollection is we did not ask for a lot of mitigation the last time through, and I think we need to get some this time. And certainly the roof drains, I don't recall if the house has gutters, but if it doesn't, that could be tied in as well. And any thoughts of plantings and any other ideas that you might come up with might really help.
To soften it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I don't know what else we might need, but if we could get the wetland.
butters,
I'm sorry?
butters.
I was going there.
Okay.
But if we can get those done, that would be a great help. But now I do want to go to abutters and see if there are anybody in the audience. And I will again repeat myself. Anybody that's there, raise your hand, and please keep your comments as brief and succinct as you can.
Seeing none.
Okay, when do we want to continue this to, Amy?
How about September 20th?
Okay, I make
Does
a
that
motion.
sound okay, James, or do you need more time than that?
No, September 20th is great. Thank you.
I make a motion, we continue 28 Gilson Road to September 20th.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Doug, second. Brendan,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Richard, yes. Okay, thank you very much, James.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, we'll keep moving right along here.
Septic repair.
6 Newton. Right. On August 16th, 2021 at 5:30 in the Town Hall, the Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 3700 of the Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Andrea Walker for work related to sewer repair at dwelling at location 6 Newton Street, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access meeting will be available on the agenda posted on the town website.
Bob Crawford is on the line.
Hey,
Hi,
Bob,
Bob.
That's better.
how are you tonight?
I'm pretty good.
Good.
Want me to start?
Yes, please.
Okay, this is about a 5,300 square foot lot on the east side of River Street, if you're going there, on the corner of Newton Street. We're proposing to replace the existing cesspool, which is currently lying in the water table, 1,500 gallon septic tank, and 44 feet of infiltrator, quick force, high capacity chambers. There's not much area on the lot. Basically, it lies on a barrier beach, coastal dune, land subject to coastal storm flowage, and it's within the inner and outer riparian zones to the South River. The closest that
any part of the construction will be to the bank of the river is about 55 feet. We also have to replace or relocate the water service and the gas service. I'm trying to answer any questions you have.
Bob, I just lost you there in the last thing you said.
I'll try to answer any questions you have.
Okay, thank you.
I should
Amy?
point out that it's actually in a AE flood zone,
Yes, it is.
elevation 13. But the grades on the lot are basically within 8 and 9.3.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Amy?
Yeah, so I mean, clearly we want to see a upgraded working septic. So I think this is definitely provable with conditions. I didn't see anything that particularly stuck out. I'm unclear as to whether Board of Health has approved this at this point or not. But I still think we could close, pending
Pending DOH.
their approval.
Yeah, okay. Thanks. Jen?
Sounds like definitely an improvement. I don't think I have anything else to add right now.
Okay, thanks. Andrew?
I'm okay right now.
Penny?
Nope, it looks good.
Brendan?
I have no questions.
And Doug?
No questions. It's as good as you're gonna get, I think.
Yep.
Yep.
So Bob, the connections that have to be redone, they're on Newton Street or on River Street?
Oh, they're on Newton Street.
Okay. All right. So you won't have any traffic issues with that. No, I'm good with it. Anybody in the audience for this?
I see no hands raised.
Then I'll make a motion to close.
Penny made a motion to close. Do I have a second?
Second, Andy.
Thanks. Brendan?
Yes.
Jen?
Yep.
Doug?
Yes.
And Richard, yes. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Okay, so we go to RDAs and we're going to do 151st Parish first, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
And on this one, I'm gonna unmute Bill Orenberger. So this is a continuance. Oh, no, actually, we're gonna read this in because we've re-advertised it. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
No.
No? Okay.
No.
Oh, no, we did not re-advertise it. Okay. No, we've just been this is one that we've been continuing a lot.
Like,
So anyways, I'm gonna unmute Bill, and Bill, you can let us know if you want us to unmute. Oh, Brad Holmes maybe too.
Hello.
Hi, Bill. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm here. Brad Holmes is going to make a presentation. He submitted a restoration plan. Aaron Drakely is also the owner of the property, is on here. And at the outset of this, let's hear what Brad explain his plans, and then I'll talk later. Go ahead, Brad.
Sure. Thank you, Bill. Good evening, members of the commission.
Hi, Brad.
Happy to help on this project at 151st Parish Road. This is a site that I have some history with, so I know the conditions, and prior to Aaron Drakely's ownership, I was involved at the site to delineate wetlands in 2012 as part of the transfer of the property. And based on that knowledge of the site and the site plan that had been prepared previously by Ross Engineering and some other data, I was able to kind of put together a compiled plan to present to the commission. What we've done is we've proposed a restoration plan, but it's really more of a kind of ongoing management plan of the property. Erin is a really excellent steward of the land, and when you go out on site, she's done a really good job of removing invasives and kind of bringing along some natives and kind of bringing back the property. So what we're prepared was a kind of more of an enhancement plan along with restoration, but more of an ongoing management with activities that she would be proposing within the buffer zone, but also the commission would be aware of what's going on in a defined plan, so there isn't any misunderstanding of maintenance activities as move through the future. So what you have here is a Ross Engineering 2012 site plan with a wetland delineation on it. And overlaid on top of that is a realty drone image prior to Aaron's ownership of the property. And we brought that into scale and kind of overlaid the existing features on top of the site plan to kind of give you a rendering of what the property looks like, and also what we're proposing for restoration and ongoing activities. I think that kind of is you're able to kind of get a feel for the site with the aerial image overlaid. That image is prior to any maintenance activities on site. So there's a RDA application that was submitted to the commission kind of to address a fence that had been installed. It's not a chain link fence. It's more of a plastic black kind of more of an unobtrusive fence somewhat along the property line, but further into the wetland. I know that RDA application is what we're here for, and this plan is kind of to supplement that RDA application. But as far as what we're proposing, the fence that's in place now, we're not proposing to remove it because I think it would do more harm to try to remove it. But what the commission would be concerned with is, does the fence prohibit wildlife movement through the wetland system? So what I'm proposing is a modification to the fence is to cut small openings along the base of the fence every 25 feet or so to allow for the passage of small mammals or other small wildlife species. I think deer can jump over the fence, and mainly it's to try to keep coyotes and other kind of nuisance species out. But it by creating the smaller openings, it would allow for the passage of small mammals. So that's one activity that we're proposing to do. Another activity is to enhance the buffer zone with some supplemental plantings. I think the buffer zone vegetation that's there now is doing fairly well, and it could be enhanced. So you'll see the area that's shaded in green. That is an area that we've designated as the vegetated buffer, because there was always a maintained lawn and somewhat landscaped area of the site. So we've designated the area in that green shaded zone for supplemental planting within the buffer. We're using a variety of native species to provide some benefits there. Another activity that we're looking to maintain and ongo is there's historic debris. There's some dumping that was historically done on the site. There's small pieces of asphalt and broken brick and some pipes and glass. And Erin's actually removed a lot of that. She has buckets in her garage to she showed me what she has been removing. So what we're proposing to do is just the continued removal of debris. And that's all to be done by hand. It wouldn't involve any machinery, just hand and shovel and just kind of ongoing removal of some of the debris. And I did provide some photographs in the proposal so you could see what we're referring to. Another activity that we're proposing is kind of an ongoing management and enhancement is ongoing removal of invasives. There are some bittersweet and multiflora rose that Erin has been managing, and we're just looking to continue that ongoing removal, which she would be performing herself. There were a few trees that were removed within the buffer zone, and those trees are stump sprouting. So what we're proposing is on those stump sprouts is to select the healthiest, tallest sprout and bring those sprouts along to manage those stump sprouts into new trees. They're healthy and they'll continue to grow. And if we manage them, they'll grow into viable trees. One of the other activities proposed is kind of a neat item. There's a legacy tree that Erin has certified with the Department of Conservation and Recreation. It's a large white oak tree, and it's meets the standard for a legacy tree, and she has it certified, and we've included that in the proposal. And in doing the best care for that tree, what we're proposing to do is just maintain a 15-foot wide strip around the tree as free as we can, and just keep it mulched with natural wood chips. We wouldn't propose going into the wetland on that. It would just be in the buffer zone, and that tree is near the wetland, but it's in the buffer zone, and it's just to maintain that legacy tree the best health that we can. That's an activity that we proposed in this management plan. Another item that we thought we could use in the buffer zone and kind of enhance the site is there's an old somewhat of a foundation from an old windmill. It's bordered by bricks, and what we would do is just repair the brick border, add loam, and create a wildflower garden in that to promote pollinator habitat. It's something that has been there long before any regulations, but what we'd like to do is just repair it and turn it into a beneficial feature in the buffer zone. Another activity that we're proposing is another kind of improvement is the wild grape that's more in the southeastern portion of the site. It gets untamely and really starts to choke out some of the other saplings and shrubs. So what we're proposing is just some natural wood trellises to try to guide those grapes onto the trellises and try to keep them on the trellises without strangling the adjacent vegetation. That will be kind of a experimental kind of work in progress. I think it's a good proposal, and it's something that can be kind of managed to create more of a stratum for the grape without strangling out the adjacent vegetation. And with all those activities proposed, we would manage those and perform those over the next few seasons. But once we're kind of under initial operations, we provide the commission with a update and photographs, and we provide you with some ongoing updates to show us the progress, show you the progress of what we're performing. So I know I hit you with a lot of different activities, but mostly it's maintenance of activities in the buffer zone so that the commission's aware of that, and allows you to know what's going on. It allows Erin to perform the work and continue her good stewardship in the backyard of her property. I'll take any questions you have, and I know Bill will continue on with his discussion.
Thanks, Brad. Bill, do you want to say whatever you have now?
No, I think Brad said it very well. At the outset, there was a fence placed without coming to the commission that, and we concur with Brad as we can make this such that small mammals and other species can pass through this. We think keeping the fence is, for our client's standpoint, is a good thing, but it's also won't disrupt any further thing in the wetlands. And I know there's a long history to this before I became involved, but I really think that this is a good resolution to, help the environment, to have something so Erin can continue. She really likes the stewardship which she has here, and I think it's a great solution that Brad came up with Erin.
Okay. Thanks, Bill. Amy?
All right. Well, I'm not sure what the exact count is for continuances, but maybe somebody else does. I mean, it started quite a while ago.
A year.
Okay, a year ago. Yep. So this has been going on for a while. And just to refresh your memory on this. So it started as an after the fact RDA, which is something that we allow people to do quite often when they've gone ahead and done things in buffer zones when, when maybe they're not aware that they were buffer zones, or they just didn't realize that, we have a conservation commission in this town that has jurisdiction within certain buffers, and you can't just go and cut down trees and vegetation and install fences without permission. So that's kind of how it started. And anyways, and so, we did have a request for determination of applicability after the fact filed by Erin to just basically get the fence that the applicant installed around the perimeter of her yard on board. And then during that time, it became evident that there was a bunch of clearing that also happened within the no-touch buffer, which as the site plan shows was established through, I believe, a notice of intent that was filed on behalf of a former owner with Ross Engineering involved. And I'm not sure if Brad, you were the one that delineated the original resource area. Or if
I was in 2012, I delineated the wetlands. I don't know if it went, I wasn't involved with the Conservation Commission after the delineation in 2012. Paul Mirabito and Ross Engineering would have brought anything through, but I'm not sure what the activities that were done.
Okay, all right. So that's what it was. It wasn't a notice of intent. It was an RDA, which that's one avenue you can take, is a request for determination to to agree on resource areas. And so there was a plan put forward, and the commission reviewed and agreed that these were the resource areas at that time. But anyways, so it's been continued, and Frank Snow, chairman, and myself met with Erin and a colleague of hers out there, and we've walked the site, and that was last fall, and to try to work with this owner. We recommended that she engage the services of a professional wetland scientist and come up with a restoration plan. So here we have it. I mean, just from my perspective right now, and looking at this, I mean, I think that clearly it's a homeowner that cares very much about the property, but maybe didn't understand the rules the town has or something like that. But either way, I think it's good to try to get something resolved here as far as either, I mean, I guess it's administratively, like, how do you proceed? And also, do we actually agree with the proposed restoration plan that's being put forth? I mean, when I was out there with Frank, I did notice that there was quite a few fresh stumps.
Yep.
Meaning that there was trees, I didn't count the diameter, but there was at least a dozen trees that had been actually cut. And it might be 10, maybe it's only 8, or maybe it's 15. I don't have the number in my notes in front of me, but I'm just saying that on the list to replant, it doesn't strike me that those are woody species, that they're proposing woody species. So I think that might be a comment that I have. As far as administratively, how do we handle this? So, I mean, it's currently in as a request for determination, and we all know that, it's either going to be a negative or it's going to be a positive. So a positive would be that we're going to just make a positive finding on this whole deal and ask them for a notice of intent, and then get an order of conditions finalizing this. The other way you could handle it would, which would be similar to what we've just done recently on a couple other cases, would be to accept this restoration plan or a version of the restoration plan and the write-up of all those other pretty complicated laundry list of other things that they want to include and incorporate that into an enforcement order. So now the difference between both of those is going to be the enforcement order is not necessarily recorded on the deed of the property, whereas the orders are. So I think, you know, the orders have a little bit more meat as far as that goes. You know, the enforcement order still certainly would be in the file, and we could put timelines associated and deliverables, and they've offered that up anyways. So I guess that's where I see your discussion leading, or around those subjects. So Rich, if you want to go through the members.
Absolutely. Thank you. Let's go the other way around. Let's start with Andy on this one.
Sure. Yeah, so I mean, it is a lot, and so a few things I'm seeing. I mean, I think definitely some accounting for the trees that we're taking out would be something I'd be looking for. I mean, I don't love the fence being out there, but I appreciate Brad's assessment that taking it out would be more, but I think I would be more inclined to see it, just see like an 18-inch cut around, all around in the wetland, not just holes, but just raise it 18 inches off the ground all around the wetland to allow passage of animals. I think that would work for me. And you know, there's just been a lot of work out there. I think it's been a couple of different occasions, and some of them, I think, after the applicant first came before us and heard about the 50-foot. So I'd also be, I'm inclined to ask for some type of delineation of that 50-foot buffer. I think going forward, it's going to be pretty tempting for future homeowners, other folks to, you know, potentially make the same mistake. So those are the things on my list. And I guess I'd be inclined to for a positive finding, just so we can have that set up. But those are my thoughts.
Thanks. Good thoughts. Brendan?
Yes. So I guess, so the fence is not on this plan, is that correct?
Correct. The fence hasn't been located and put on the plan.
Okay, so I'm sorry.
There is fencing along either side of the property. I think that some of that had been there previously, but there is a fence that was installed. It's like a black, I want to say plastic, but it's kind of a plastic, more mesh type fence. It's not a chain link fence, or it's more of a softer fence that's been put in, not all the way to the back of the property line, but within the wetland system. So it isn't something that you notice right off because of the black color, but you know, it isn't, everything's grown and vegetated, it's healthy. So that was my proposal, that yes, the commission normally doesn't like to see fences in the wetland resource area. And why? Well, that's because it prohibits the movement of wildlife. So if we can install critter passages, then that would alleviate that concern. So that's where we're at with it.
Okay, because as I recalled, originally it was described as like a deer fence, which the intent of a deer fence is to keep deer out. And I think the intent of this fence was particularly to keep coyotes out for a dog, as I recall. So I'm not a fan of the fence, I guess, and I like the restoration plan, by the way. I do, but not a fan of the fence. So also there on this plan is to create a 3-foot walking path. Is that within the 50, correct?
Yeah.
Correct. So what we're trying to do is, this is a management plan with restoration in a sense. we're not, the easiest thing would be just to, propose some shrubs and not get into the specific details. And then, but then we wanted to be above board and let everybody know what we're proposing, which is all good activities, so that, anybody's going to act, even though some of these things may seem kind of not necessary to put on a plan, like just, maintenance of your existing area and just a pathway to get through there. We wanted it to be located so there wasn't any misunderstanding with the commission.
Well, what would, is this walking path, will the walking path made out of? Is it just a dirt path? Is it?
It's just a path. It wouldn't be anything, we're not proposing a substrate on the surface, so you can walk through there now. It should be just, probably just maintain it with a mow once in a while, just to maintain access through the buffer zone. And there is lawn, so as you see, there's always been a maintained lawn within the buffer zone. It wasn't always a 50-foot vegetated buffer strip. There was always portions of that property that had a maintained lawn within the 50-foot buffer. So some of this is obviously leaving the maintained lawn as lawn, but using some of the other areas and enhancing it with plantings and just being able to get through your property.
Okay, so this path was along what was currently maintained lawn, or what was?
Well, maybe not in that area. There was probably some pathways throughout the buffer zone. And when I was there, it had lawn up to edges of the buffer as I've drawn it. So I can't tell you if there was a pathway exactly where we're proposing, but we would meander a path so that it doesn't cut any significant vegetation.
Okay, yeah, I don't have any additional questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Brendan. Penny?
Okay. First and foremost, the fence that's in the buffer in the wetlands has to go. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. We're making a developer up the west end a fence, a lot of fence, and that's coming down. Okay, that never should have been put in. The mature trees, at least 10 came down. You're not going to have your little sprouts. Come on. It's going to take forever, the little sprouts, to grow back into trees. They have to be replaced with something decent out there. I mean, it was a very upsetting what happened. And it wasn't a RDA, it was an ANRAD done specifically to mark out the wetlands and the buffer zones. Okay? So whoever bought this place would know where they were supposed to go or not go. That was very specific, and it was an ANRAD done. So I'm just very, very disappointed. I don't like that the fence has to go. That's all I'll say there, out of the buffer zone completely. And I strongly feel that the mature trees that were cut down and continued to be cut down when we asked them to stop have to be replaced with something decent to get going. And I'm not a fan of that walkway in the buffer zone. We have buffer zones 50 feet. We make people put post and rail up saying, do not enter. Do not enter your 50-foot buffer. It's a no disturb. We want Mother Nature to take care of it. So I definitely would like a positive on this myself. I'm with Andy on that. And I'm just, I'm disturbed about it because of the ANRAD that was done. And then I understand she bought it, but it's your responsibility when you buy something to check everything out and then to go out and do the clearing that was done out back here. and to put a fence up. And we were told it was a temporary fence, so I don't see the big deal of taking a temporary fence down, that she hadn't put in the permanent fence yet. So, yeah, I'm just very disappointed in this. And I would like to see an NOI filed. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Penny. Are you sure it was only 2 cents?
It was a nickel's worth tonight.
Okay, all right. Jennifer,
I'd say it was a dime.
okay.
But
Okay.
I've been holding on this question. I literally tried to Google it. I'm curious about a legacy tree. That sounds interesting. But also I don't see it on this plan. So I'm just wondering, Brad, if you can point out where it is on this plan.
Sure.
Beautiful.
2 quick things. We are proposing replacement with, or as I said, enhancement with native saplings and shrubs. So there are trees proposed for replacement. If you look, I'm not screen sharing, but
Yeah.
if you can see, there's an open area of green. Can I screen share?
No, unfortunately
Okay,
not.
all right. Well, if you go back to the other plan that Amy pulled up that showed, all right, there's the tree right there. If you zoom in, there's a
Oh,
large,
okay, that big
that's
one.
the large tree.
Got it.
It's
And
beautiful.
a legacy tree is a tree that's, I think it's greater than like 30 inches in diameter. There are criteria. They used to be called heritage trees.
Okay.
And it's just a program that, you know, it's a neat program, and it's just kind of another aspect of good stewardship of Erin's maintenance here, is that she pursued a legacy tree on her property. I have only known of one in the Cape, so I haven't been able to be involved in another one. But it is a neat program, and something we should maybe look forward on other places in town.
Yeah. So thank you for answering that. I would echo everybody's sentiments thus far. It's really great to hear all the comments and thoughts being shared. It does sound like Erin, really wants to create an environmentally friendly oasis for herself, which I can totally get behind. I am super happy in my own backyard as well. And I appreciate how upfront and detailed a lot of the detail has been. It is frustrating to sometimes not see things that are complete. Like, this plan is super helpful to see some of the other things laid out, but even then, like, all the fencing isn't reflected on here. So I think that there's definitely some work to be done, and I would also support a positive finding.
Thanks, Jen. Doug?
Erin is my direct neighbor. So I'm actually recused from this
Okay.
particular case.
Right. I'm sorry. I think I'd forgotten that, but thank you.
If I could speak to that,
Yeah, go ahead.
Richard. Yeah, I hear all the commission's concerns, and the reason why I think this should be entitled to a negative finding, I think Brad has outlined in his notes very, very thoroughly all the things that are going to be performed here. All right. That's number one. The other thing is the site of this is, and I think Erin included this, a lot of the site this is the caretakers for the whatever the condos, which was previously I think a bed and breakfast place for ancient times, over 100 years here. So this isn't, although it has grown over the years, it isn't in other words, this virgin site that's here. It's really an ancient dump is what this is in the backyard. The other thing, to be frank with you, I get involved in this for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons is to try to bring some civility to this discussion. And I think Amy would attest that I think we've achieved that, because I know there was a lot of emotion and a lot of negative things that happen, and I try to walk those things away. And also, I recommend that Brad get involved because of his expertise and come up with something that is good. The reason why, albeit, and I know the commission's disappointed in some of the prior actions that have occurred here, I really think it is a good faith effort to address all these other things, and I think it effectively addresses it. And not to tells our school, but to be candid with you, there's a big difference in my mind when there's fencing here, that this is not a developer, it's not a sophisticated person in this area of land use, and on with limited resources. And that's why I think Brad has done a really good job here. I don't think an NOI is something that, I'm just being candid with you, that she can afford, she can afford to do. She and Brad have gone through all of this to make sure that she had the funds necessary to do what's here. And at the outset, Brad, as opposed to, and I know the inclination is because some of the actions is they have a punitive effect here. I really don't think you can see, from Erin's standpoint, as I said, hey, you got a legacy tree. Who goes through that process? It would be easier to have someone get a chainsaw and cut this thing down. And then that would be a real shame on something that's as majestic as this. And again, she's really trying to do things. One of the reasons at the outset, this has been delayed and whatever, is, and maybe from my standpoint, I'm not as facile as I should be in some of these things. But I thought before Brad came up with a supplementing and planting plan, you'd like to see what was the lasting effect of some of the cuttings that were done in the wetlands, and to let some of these things come back, which now they have. So one of the things I'd recommend is unless the board is going to give us, if the consensus of the board is to give us a negative RDA on this, I think Brad has done what he can do on this. But I think if there was a site visit to see this, people would really appreciate taking a look at this and saying, this is a unique situation that was a cleared lot from over 100 years ago, which prior to Erin's ownership of this, there's been a lot of ups and downs on this. But as far as things saying, well, future owners may do X, Y, and Z, and again, haven't been doing this for over 30 years. Unfortunately, other than to discipline someone, having order conditions, 99% of homeowners, unfortunately, don't even know what an order of conditions is. And that's how I think, and from Erin's standpoint, I think this is a good plan. I can understand this disappointment on the commission basis, but we have a person who, in my opinion, has come forward, made a good faith effort, hired Brad to come up with something that's compatible with the site and to have a good use of the site from an environmental standpoint. But the removal of the trees, I think Brad is the one who, and I don't mean to say that some of the commission members don't have a good expertise in too, but as far as allowing for wildlife migration on here, I think Brad has this nailed down. And again, I've spoken a lot here, but that's my strong feeling on this. And I think we have something here that works well. Erin knows what has happened here, as far as there's a lot of, at the outset of this, at least from my speaking to certain public officials, there was a lot of acrimony, there was a lot of problems, and a lot of it had to do with educating from our end of things as to what does the town bylaw, what is it, what should we do, how in the future, how can we mitigate what has happened, which I think we've done, And how can we ensure to actually make this more vibrant, from pollination gardens to allowing other native species here to thrive where they probably otherwise wouldn't because of overgrown invasive species. So I think we've gone a long way in making this work well.
If I can add one thing, Bill, I see where the commission's concern are as far as the RDA versus looking towards a notice of intent. What we could do is we could develop more of a timeline of events and reporting to the commission that we could submit, and you can include that in your determination should you so issue a negative determination. What I rather not see is that we just are required to file a notice of intent where we take the plan that's here and refile it in a notice, which isn't really going to probably change too much. With that brings additional filing fees, additional expenses, additional time to the commission, where I think if we possibly met on site, maybe discussed some more ideas the commission had, and maybe get you some more documentation that you're more comfortable with, I think the commission could move forward with a determination on something like this, but just wanted to leave that offer to you should you think it's worthy.
Yeah, thank you, Brad. A couple things. I don't think we can lose sight of the original infraction, first of all. They were pretty serious. Whether they were done innocently or not, I don't think is the issue. I presume they were, but they were serious infractions, and there is a big, I'm hearing from the other commissioners, a big concern about there being a fence at all, and a big concern about the number of trees that were cut down. On the other side of it, I certainly think the restoration plan is commendable, to say the least. And there's a lot of good things there. I guess my question would go back to Amy, and that is, you said there were two ways we could go on this. One was the positive determination forcing an NOI, and the other one, wasn't it to turn it into an enforcement order? And I'm just wondering if that's another way to consider.
Okay. I mean, so
I'm
that's
asking a question.
right. So, I mean, either way would accomplish the same goal largely in an administrative fashion. The difference is that orders hold teeth because they're recorded on the deed of the
Right.
property.
Right.
And also there is more of a requirement for accuracy and detail because it's a public hearing, not a meeting. So we're going to be triggering a butter notification. And, right now it's not. I mean, right now it's an after the fact request for determination filed on, because we had a complaint about, work without a permit. So, so the whole point is, I think a valid permit for this amount of activities, would be accomplished with an order of conditions. I do think that this is something you could condition, and on the other hand, that is an avenue that you could consider would be an enforcement avenue. I mean, there's lots of ways to slice the enforcement. You could do an enforcement with penalty. You could do, enforcement with timelines. But again, it's not recorded on the deed, and there is no public hearing, additional public hearing. It would just be basically accepting the restoration plan that you have presented. I mean, we could insert tweaks to the plan or requests to the plan if you think that it lacks detail or there are certain things that you don't like about the plan. So again, like the orders are just have more meat, have more teeth. But as the applicant put forth, there are additional costs associated with it, but clearly, the resources are available. So be good to have them go into the ground to restore as much as possible. I do agree that a site visit another site visit would be good. I'm pretty sure that, you know, at least a few have been out on the site, but not for a long time, since that was that ANRAD in 2012. Most recently, it was at least just Frank and myself. And then I think others maybe just kind of a drive-by look, so that they haven't been in the, you know, down in the woods. But I don't know. It's a tough one. I would like to see this moved. We've now been on discussion with this for at least 20 minutes. So I think we need to move it forward, Rich.
Yep.
Somebody
So
make a
let me just very quickly run by my colleagues here.
And ask for abutters if there's an abutter.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Let's go to the abutters first, please.
Seeing none.
Seeing none. Okay, so I'd like to go back to the commissioners and just see if there's a clear, I just wanted to make the suggestion about the enforcement as opposed to a positive finding. So I just want to run through and see if there's any sentiment for going that way. If not, we'll take a motion. So I'll start with Brendan.
I think I could be open to an enforcement order.
Okay. Andrew?
I'm still inclined to a positive finding. I think getting it
Okay.
detailed would be helpful.
Okay. Jen?
I could support an enforcement, but I would agree with Andy on the positive.
Okay. Penny?
Positive.
Doug?
Recused.
I'm sorry. Who did I miss?
You.
And me. And I am inclined to go with the positive. So with that in mind, I
Can
will
I make a
entertain
motion?
Yep.
I make a motion for a positive finding.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So does this mean that the commission does not want to view the site? Is that what this is, the
Does not want to what?
view the site prior to taking action?
No.
Bill, I think we have all either been by, and I include myself for sure, or walked the site. And I have to agree with Amy. I mean, this has been going on for a year. We've got to move this along. But if I thought that we really hadn't looked at the site pretty thoroughly, then I would go for a site visit. But I think not in this case.
Okay.
So I'm sorry. I have a motion from Penny and a second from
Jen.
Jen. Brendan?
No.
Andy?
Yes.
Doug?
No.
Accused.
Geez, I'm sorry.
Richard.
And I am a yes, and I missed somebody. I know I did.
No, you didn't.
Okay, then it is a positive finding.
Did you ask Andy?
Andy, I knew I missed somebody.
I was a yes. You got everyone.
All
Yes,
right, yeah.
One
Sorry.
no, and the rest of us are yes, and one recused. Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving on.
RDA for 211 Tilden.
Sewer connection.
And on an RDA, I don't have a spiel, do I?
Yes.
You
It was
do.
emailed.
I just got it. There it is. Oh, I didn't just get it, but I have it. On August 16, 2021, during the 5:30 meeting at Town Hall, the Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Edelvina Gomez, I apologize if I got it wrong, for a determination of the applicability of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate Wetlands Bylaw for activities related to sewer connection at the property known as 211 Tilden Road, Scituate, Mass. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access meeting will be available on the agenda posted on town website.
Hi, Richard. We have James Garfield on this call, I
You're
believe.
back, James. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Again, for the record, my name is James Garfield, engineer at Morse Engineering, here tonight representing the applicant for this RDA associated with a sewer connection plan. So to familiarize yourself with our plan here, our property lines are shown in bold. There's actually 2 lots shown here. The subject property is the lot to the right, parcel 39-27-24.
Oh,
And so we went out to this site. This site's currently serviced by a failing Title V cesspool. And we went out to the site for perk tests in hopes of putting an on-site septic system. And when we went out there, groundwater was really high, and we ended up taking soil samples. The groundwater was, well, the soil was too wet to perk. So we sent the soil samples to the lab, and they came back to us with the sieve analysis results, basically stating that the site's not suitable for an on-site system. Just the soil is just not good enough soil in order to absorb any new effluent. So what we're proposing, the house directly next door, number 207 Tilden, is it's already serviced by sewer, and there's an as-built plan on file from 2005 when that was connected. And so what we're proposing is to put a grinder pump in the rear yard in the location of the existing cesspool. And then, we're gonna pump the effluent up 1 1/4 inch force main, which will head out towards Tilden and then ride along the shoulder of the road until it meets up with the existing force main, which is located on this plan at the lower left corner of that number 207 Tilden Road lot. So as far as resource areas, why we're here tonight, you'll see that there's a blue line to the rear of number 207. It's a bordering vegetated wetland. And where we're connecting into the existing force main is approximately 25 feet from that wetland as we show it. So I think it's pretty straightforward. The owner's doing the best they can with the site. Just thinks that they weren't able to get the on-site system. But with that, I will leave it to you for any questions.
Great. Thanks, James. Amy?
Yes, so I think that this will be a great improvement, and it appears to meet the requirements of a negative finding, although we will be putting a notation that we're not confirming these resource areas. So should another project come forward, we'd have to take another look at that. I mean, clearly it's not ideal that the tree line is up to the BVW line as depicted on the plan.
Yep.
It would be great to get additional improvements, but as far as the project proposed, it appears to meet the negative finding. So
Great. Thanks. Doug? You're good on this one, right?
Yeah, I am good on this.
Good.
I get to let James have it with both barrels. No, it looks like a good project. James, you're looking at this plan, you're really threading the needle, getting that force main in next to a gas line. So my only concern, I don't know how this is an RDA, right?
Yes.
So it's definitely,
don't
I'm fine. I'm fine with the project. I'm just, we have another situation where we're going to have a trench that if that gas line is not exactly where that is, you may be widening the trench or relocating that trench during construction. And so it's a matter of, I don't know how we do with this in our day, but so my only concern is an open trench and another giant rainstorm that washes that out and gets since we're so close to the wetlands there's a danger of silt washing into the wetlands. So I guess maybe some kind of a contingent if you have to, like how deep's that gonna go, James? Is like, what are they down 4 feet maybe?
Yeah, I would think it would be down around 4 feet, 5 feet.
And and it's forced and you're gonna run it. Is it running backwards from the connection spot? looks like it's pretty flat there, isn't it?
That's
Um,
correct. And it is, just to reiterate, it's a 1 1/4 inch force main, so the pipe's not too large itself. But
Right, no, and you'll probably use a skinny little backhoe to go in there. It looks like it actually might cross that gas line, but that's, I mean, I'm not trying to get into the weeds on that, but so I just something, Amy, that we can put in there, like you know, during construction, the applicant should, or the contractor needs to.
Yeah, we can add a sentence about BMPs, Doug.
Something like that, yeah, just
Yeah,
so
like-
we're kind of covered there, that if that we've actually acknowledged that there's going to be a tight little build out right there, that just during construction, once you get it open, they need to get that pipe in the ground. They can't be fooling around and coming back with an alternative plan. So if they have to relocate that trench, I want to give them permission to do that, but I just want them to watch
Weather.
the potential. So we don't have what happened in July.
Right, well, I mean, I'm not sure who's gonna do the work, but typical utility installation BMPs would say that you watch the forecast and you only trench and install what you're gonna do that day. So I wouldn't see that they're gonna like open up the whole area.
Sure.
And they should also, be using erosion controls, which aren't necessarily clearly depicted on this site plan. But so I'll weave some wording in there. How about that?
That's all. I don't want to beat that up. I was kidding about the Barth barrels thing, James. That's it. I'm done
Okay.
talking.
Okay, thanks. Andrew?
Nothing to add.
Brendan?
Sorry, I have nothing to add.
Jen?
Nope, I'm good.
Penny?
Nope, just don't blow the street up. Be careful.
Okay, and anyone in the audience on this?
Seeing none.
Make a motion to close, a negative.
3?
Sorry.
Is it
Negative.
negative 3?
Yep.
Penny, motion, second, please.
Second from Jen.
Jen, thank you. Andrew?
Yes.
Brendan?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And I'm a yes, thank you. Thank you, James.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
We have 33 Jericho Road. That's going to be, I need a motion to continue that.
Yes, I make a motion to continue that until September 20th.
Motion from Penny. Do I have a second?
Second from Jen.
Thank you. Doug?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Brendan?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay, thanks. Now, administrative minutes.
Yeah, I'll make a motion. We accept the minutes as written from July 12th and August 2nd.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Doug, second. Andrew?
Yes.
Brendan?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
And Richard, yes. Orders of conditions. Jen, you're back on for the first one.
Oh, how exciting.
I thought you would be.
I make
No, you can't make the motion.
Oh, right.
You're just gonna, I'll make a motion that we accept, there were draft minutes put out for 8 Newell, and then Amy
Draft
made
order of conditions.
I don't know if everyone read them, but I make a motion that we accept the second set of orders that was sent out as written on 8 Newell Street.
Second.
I second. Oh,
No, you need someone to second.
Second, Andy.
okay. Brendan,
Yes.
Penny,
Yes. Doug?
Doug,
Yes.
Andy.
Yes.
Yes.
Jen, yes.
Okay.
Great.
All right, and now I'll make a motion that we accept the orders of conditions, which are pretty standard for both lot 17 Border Street and 116 Country Way as written.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that, Doug.
Doug? Jen?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Brendan?
Yes.
Richard, yes. Certificates of compliance, we don't need to vote on these, correct?
Nope.
They're just going out for 10
Correct.
Montvale. I'm sorry? Yes.
That's correct.
And
Yep.
60 Hatherley.
He's happy, we're happy.
Okay, we had one other thing that we wanted to just quickly discuss, and I think it's worthy of some discussion, and that is where do we get the point on some of these things that are continued, and then recontinued seemingly ad infinitum? When do we go to the point where we say, no, we want you to go back to the drawing board?
Start over.
Well,
Start over.
so I can take a look around and see a little bit more, but I am aware that there are towns out there, local towns, that have policies that you just, so many and you're done. I mean, it's clear that, like, if you don't continue to a date and time certain, then you have to repost your legal ad. But as far as just like continuing,
Yeah.
I mean, it's gotta be, I agree, there's gotta be a rule. So how about if I look around and try to see something that,
Yeah.
just like what the rule of thumb is, what other people do, and then we can make our decision. So we'll take it up
I think
another time.
I think that would be very helpful, but I'm wondering if I just think that when things start to go a year or longer, and we've had a couple of cases tonight where they are, it gets to the point where we're really just taking up everybody's time and not making any progress, not making any decision at all, whether it's good or bad, whether it's a positive or a negative decision. And so,
And it's not only our time, it's the
everybody else's.
people that are concerned with these projects, that have been following the projects.
Yep.
Like, I mean, we know there's certain projects have people that are interested, like Oceanside is an example. And so yeah, collectively, it takes a lot of people's time to just keep them in the loop.
Right.
And to keep them, and it's their energy to keep in the loop. So it's like, it seems like there should be a rule of thumb, but a year is too much. I mean,
Anybody else want to speak up on this?
Penny does again.
Of course.
Yes. No, not just, could I just say that, like, one of the things, sometimes we do an enforcement order and they come in, or they're going to come in, and it goes on and on and on. One of the things tonight started as it should have probably been an enforcement. They were told to stop. And then, yes, it was an enforcement, and they did come in, and that's when we said to do the RDA. And it went on for a year. And sad to say, things get done that shouldn't be done, or they continue to do little naughty things, and they're ignoring us. So that's what really upsets me, is we sit here and they just keep continuing, and you drive by and, oh, something else happened. I mean, it just, a year is ridiculous.
Okay.
Either you're coming, or we'll go back to the enforcement order, on these projects that they just don't, they file or they semi-file, and then they keep continuing. It's
right. And I
really
mean,
upsetting.
not having a specific conversation here.
Yeah, no,
But for example, on projects that are after the facts,
right.
and then it's a positive finding.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of thinking that, so now you make a positive finding. Well, so what's the accountability to actually push that notice of intent filing? Like, again, it's going to be another year before you see a notice. So I almost kind of see on those types of cases where maybe an enforcement order is what you need to push that forward, or, I mean, it's a tough situation because, certainly all the guidance out there wants you to keep these things moving forward in an amicable fashion if possible.
Mhm.
But when they get, close to whatever, when they become emotional, it becomes difficult. So it's tough. I mean, it's a tough thing, but it's like, you can't wait forever, so I don't know. And I guess that's where we have, penalties, where, it becomes your penalty discussion, because penalties certainly get people's attention. Or even just being open on suddenly, you're not on that just a regular list, you're now on the enforcement list. I mean, like, I kind of feel like that's how we ended up with the very next day documents on the Sunoco station. We had an open discussion about that, and boom, suddenly I had, whether we agree with them, that's another discussion, but you know what I'm saying? So, lot to think of.
What I would,
Go ahead, Jen.
what I would say is, like, I totally support there being some policy. A year sounds like a long time. I'd love to hear Amy's, like, research into other towns and to
Yep.
what
Yep.
they've set.
Yep.
I think the benefit to this is truly a benefit to all, in the sense that, we've had people who could do a turnaround faster, but we don't have space in the next meeting because we probably have 3 continuances.
Right.
We
So,
don't know they're gonna be continuances.
right. So being able to have a little bit of more of a understanding of what's actually going to happen,
Yep.
I think will be of great service to everybody,
Yep.
not just the commission members.
Agree, Jen.
Anybody else want to weigh in?
Yeah, I have a question about this, Amy. I was actually having this conversation today because I don't know the answer to this, but what can we do as a matter of policy and regulations that aren't in the bylaws? So can we set, like, say we set a policy, an internal, a policy of, 5 continuances without, and give ourselves an ability to overturn that, that, like, if there's a particular reason why there has to be another continuance because, for some reason we want to go by, and I'm just throwing out a number, but you just say 5, which when it's every month, that's a long time. That's,
Oh, that is.
five meetings, or you could set a time limit, 6 months or something like that, but whatever it is, but there could be circumstances beyond someone's control that they have to extend that. We give ourselves the ability to do that. Is that something we can uphold legally and ethically if it's not in our bylaws? And just to add on to that too, because the actual discussion was about things like, plantings in the buffer zones. We don't have a requirement in the buffer zones to add mitigation as far as plantings go. In our bylaws, can we have that as part of our, regulations or a policy, and have those, be legally accepted, that a practice for us to, enforce those kind of things? Because I think it would be nice to, I'm thinking on the other side, if you're developing a plan that you're going to submit to the Conservation Commission, you have a list of, like, this is what they'd like to see. This is what they're looking for. If you're in a BVW, you're within the 50, here's a list of plantings, and you go get that on the plan the first time, and they don't have to continue it. And that, I'd like to see those less continuances if we could. So if we had a way of establishing policies like that without having to go through the process of changing the bylaws. And I don't know the answer, Amy, so it's a question. What can we do?
Right. Okay. So, I can find out from legal about policies. You know what I mean? Like how much meat a policy has, and if they're, because I know that, DEP has policies. the town has policies. I mean, policy is something board can definitely develop policies. And you're right, it's guidance for those so that they know what what it sets an expectation. And it would be even better if they're woven into your regulations. Regulations, of course, require public hearings. And I think as a side project, we did just update our regulations to coincide with the required FEMA updates, but there are other things in our regulations that, could be helpful to take another look at, because before 16, I think it was like 2008, 2016, and then now again in 21, but those were all largely because of the FEMA stuff. But so there could be policy things that you could turn into the regulations. Bylaw, on the other hand, it's not really appropriate for a bylaw to put policy stuff in bylaws, and bylaw changes open up, they're only made at town meeting. So that's why it's unlikely that we would want to go for a bylaw change for a policy matter. But I mean, we already have policy, like on our front page of our website, we have it disclosed. It's our policy that we take, materials for an agenda 3 weeks before, you know what I mean? And it's a policy that if new materials are due a week before, that's just a policy, and it's how we run it. It's how we run the show. But I'm not sure how legally enforceable it is, and whether, if we have a policy on continuances, if we could get in trouble about it. So I want to make sure that that's not the case. But I mean,
Yeah.
I know it is true as far as continuances that, it's always better if it's mutually agreed upon, and that it's requested by the applicant that they're, requesting to continue. Because if they refuse to continue, your options are either close or deny. You know what I mean? For lack of information, so because usually when you're asking somebody to continue, it's because you're missing something that you need in order to make the decision that you were trying to make, whether it's something that you need. And that's why people continue, because they're trying to get you more information. But if they just can't get it, then at some point it's game's over.
Yep.
So let's continue this discussion.
Yes, absolutely.
I'll
If
try
you
to
could
get
do a
some
little
more
research, that would really be helpful.
Not for a year though, because that's too long.
No. Okay.
Well, because things.
All right.
See what I did there?
No, you did good. You
Continue.
did good, Doug.
Thank you.
Really good. Anything else anybody wants to bring up tonight?
No, we have a meeting on the 30th. There's
We do.
the
30th.
enjoy the rest of August, everybody, and
Okay.
and we'll be in touch.
I will
All right.
entertain a motion to close the meeting.
Make a motion to close,
Do I have a second?
adjourn, whatever.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Doug. Brendan,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
and Richard, yes. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your patience with me too.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank
great
you,
night.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good
Night.
night. Thanks,
Good
Rich.
night, everyone.
Bye.
How do I get out of here?
Bye.
I don't know what to do.